Hello and welcome back to the Jolera Interview Series. I'm your host, Paulo Delingleto, the Chief Channel Business for Jolera. Again, this series features prominent executives and influencers from the IT industry talking about the as-a-service market, technology innovation, leadership, and their overall marketplace. Again, our regular contributor, the Chief Revenue Officer for Jolera, Chris Black, is back with us again. Chris, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Wanted to get a guess from you on, in terms of market priorities, where do you think the overall customer experience ranks in 2022? Where do you think it ranks?
1.
That's right. According to McKinsey, their customer care report, number 1 by 2-to-1 margin. And I think it's easy for us to say and the industry to say, because of the coronavirus pandemic and the overall lockdowns, that there was a massive shift that got a lot of organizations, small and large, to really get their act in gear. But do you think there are other reasons for it?
No, I think it's always been there. I think people are just more vocal and they're willing to speak up now. You know, having done this for most of my adult life, I can tell you, from carrying a bag as an account manager and a salesperson, through to becoming an executive and running sales and marketing teams and running an MSP, the customers' experience and their feedback has always been something that had a disconnect between it. I can't tell you how many times I would sit in a customer's office and say, "Why haven't you told me this before? I didn't want to get anybody in trouble. I didn't want you guys to be upset with us." And it was always such an interesting response from customers, where they were almost afraid to tell us that we weren't doing a good enough job. And I think times have changed. And I don't know if I would say it's COVID, but I would say it is customers are taking the power. And we're doing it as retail consumers. And you see this translating, it's that consumerization into business, where customers are really coming back and they're now using their vocal muscles, and they're able to come back to you and say, "I'm not happy with this," whether it's a process, whether it's an outcome, and they're sharing that with you because, one, they expect outcomes, because in many lines of business and many areas as consumers, we're seeing outcomes when we're vocal. And two, I think people, it's more of a societal expectation, and it's more acceptable to be vocal. You're no longer complaining, you're giving feedback, and you're seeing the terminology shift around that. And I think it's a really good change, because it holds us accountable and other businesses accountable to do what we promised and what we set out to do. And without that feedback, we're never going to get better. Doesn't mean we're not going to make mistakes. Everybody, whether on an individual or business level, is going to make mistakes. But unless the mistake is clearly obvious to us, whether shared through somebody else or through our own painful experience, we can't improve.
So I want to talk about service level agreements, or SLAs, and, like the industry and the channel have been dealing with them forever, almost like as old as dirt. How do you think that evolves?
Well, I think service level agreements become experience level agreements. And I know your pointed question, because this has been a topic of conversation within our business for a long time. Now, our operations team can do 99 things, 999 things right. It's the one thing that we get wrong that we get roasted for. And that is the customer experience coming through. Oftentimes, SLAs have been used within all areas of business, but IT, it's been really prevalent to hide behind. Well, we said we'd get back to you within 4 hours. I can tell you from a busy executive standpoint that if I have a problem, 4 hours from now, it's no longer a problem. It's a really big effing problem. I don't have 4 hours to just burn. You see my calendar on a regular basis. There's no 4-hour window.
No.
My experience needs are immediacy. Now, not every role is that way, and you can't live up to that expectation all the time, but you can sit down with a customer and you can understand what their specific needs are and start to set expectations and or create service levels that meet those expectations as you understand them better.
So with XLA, how do you take it from an MSP or managed service provider or channel partner perspective?
Well, I think it's really difficult, to be honest with you. We've spent years with some of the smartest people that I've worked with in my career, and it's taken us years of brainstorming, thought process, experience, talking to customers, looking at data sets to pull this together. And really what MSPs and anybody who's providing customer service needs to do is you need to understand your customer. You need to understand the art of the possible within your service delivery. You know, what is actually possible? What can you do? And as much as people hate to hear this, what are the cost and pricing considerations that need to go into it? Almost anything on earth is possible if you have enough time and money. So for us with experience level agreements, it's not just a promise and a commitment and that lighthearted, hey, we're going to do a good job. Words are cheap, wind is free. When it comes down to it, understanding that a customer is going to need at the executive level, immediate response. That means we need teams that have immediate availability. They need response within an hour. We need teams that are going to be available within that hour, and so on and so forth. So understanding the experience, truly understanding the experience, and then talking to the customer about how that can or cannot be delivered and what the cost of that delivery is going to be allows you to truly guide an experience level.
Fantastic. Well, there you have it from Chris Black, the Chief Revenue Officer from Jolera. You can follow him on LinkedIn. And again, thank you very much for watching the Jolera Interview Series. Until next time, I'm Paul Delibletto. So long.